Oh, the Golden Stallions here for you, and going to be kind of a lower key episode here. Actually, doing this from a very special room, I'll just put it that way. So, on my handy dandy, trusty dusty, well, not so dusty because it gets used so much, Kingston HyperX Cloud 2 headset that every once in a while I end up doing one of these episodes from. So, which, by the way, I think I mentioned this previously on an episode, but a very gracious Sovereign Tech listener did acquire for me a mixer, a new mixing board. So Studio 2 is going to be coming right along. In fact, well, if I didn't mention it on Sovereign Tech already, I know I mentioned it on it was, on very social media. I showed a picture of it. I mean, this is really just a beautiful Behringer mixer that's really going to allow for so much more content to get done. And, of course, I mean, not a higher level quality, but a more consistent level of quality. I think that'll be really appreciated. So, anyway, thank you so much to everybody for being a patron. This week, we're going to do this Q&A episode might end up being a little bit shorter. And it's going to be, once again, as it's been the past few weeks, it seems like, going to be all crypto here to talk about. So first things first is that a lot of people wanted me to talk about what was going on with the JAXX wallet. Now, the JAXX wallet is a wallet that I've recommended pretty commonly. I mean, because of the fact that it is so cross-platform. It does accept so many different cryptocurrencies, including Zcash. It was kind of one of the first mainstream wallets to take on Zcash. Of course, it doesn't do Zcash in the shielded fashion. It does it in the transparent mode. But it does accept Zcash, So, I understand why a lot of people, ran to it, certainly for a first wallet for Zcash, among other things. And it's a wallet that's had kind of a rocky history too with Apple, where Apple wouldn't allow it to put on certain privacy-centric currencies. It appeared like they wouldn't allow for Dash, they wouldn't allow for Monero, and so the JAXX wallet was different on iOS than it was from other implementations. I mean, and it is a truly cross-platform wallet. It's all over the place, and I mean, and that's kind of impressive, just the fact that it can run, almost anywhere on anything. There was a concern, however. There was a paper, a theoretical exploit, but then there were claims that it wasn't a theoretical exploit and that some odd hundreds of thousands or something of dollars of, or at least a good amount of Ethereum was stolen from a JAXX wallet because of what is seen as an exploit, a security exploit on the JAXX wallet. Now, what was described was that effectively that anybody who had about 20 seconds on the network that your device that had your JAXX wallet on it was connected, as long as they had 20 seconds connected to the network where your machine was that was running a JAXX wallet, that they could break into your JAXX wallet. Now, theoretically, it appears that this is so. However, the reason that this is possible is because it's not... So I guess in a very technical sense, it's kind of a security exploit, but in reality, it's sort of how the security is set up. It's one of the things, it's a feature, effectively, that allows, and I'm not apologizing for JAXX, don't misunderstand me, but it's a feature that allows for you... that allows for JAXX to be so cross-platform, for your wallet, to be able to be accessed from multiple devices and all this. It's just how it's set up. And there was an entire blog post that JAXX did, about this, and they were saying, JAXX, the balance between security, portability, and ease of use. I'll put a link into the show notes for it, and I mean they make it very clear to. They're saying JAXX is not cold storage. Don't use it for cold storage. Use it as a hot wallet. Now, myself, I wasn't explicitly recommending with JAXX in the past to just use it as as a hot wallet only. I was saying, just use it as a wallet, for whatever. I didn't make any delineation on the amounts that that a person would be using as far as storing within it. So. I'm not going to say that's necessarily a failure, and this was a very, very, very tricky, very well thought out again, using the term exploit is kind of a funny thing to do because, like I said, it's not technically an exploit when, like this is how it's designed. This is how it has to be to work. Now, their solution that they laid out, I'll read right from their blog post. Because, they're saying, look, we're not going to change anything about this. And some people are freaking out, and understandably, they're saying, well, oh my God, they don't care about our security, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not that they don't care about your security. It's that the way things are set up are how they're set up, and they're not going to change that. That's their model that they have, going for themselves. So let me see here. I'll pull up the blog post quick. So real quick, another thing that JAXX has been claiming is that, like, if you set up the optional 4-digit PIN to secure your wallet, that 4-digit PIN would be required to be able to do any sending. And so even if somebody could, like, get into your wallet through the exploit that I described, where, they need 20 seconds being on your network that machine, that the JAXX wallet is on, or that, that your machine is on that has the JAXX wallet running on it, again, client side, that the PIN could have stopped this. There's some claim of that. So best practices may not have been involved. Again, the supposed theft that happened of Ethereum, there is no proof that the theft of Ethereum from a JAXX wallet that was done, and it was a substantial amount. There is no proof that it was done through the JAXX wallet. Like I said, I'm not defending JAXX, okay? But here's their kind of the response to all this. They're saying, please, please, please. That's the exact terms. This is written by Anthony DiOrio, who's been a guest on Sovereign Tech in the past, admittedly. But it says, please, 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 if you do not feel comfortable with our security model, do not use our products. We are creating for the masses a multi-platform, multi-coin interface for the blockchain system where users are in full control of their digital lives. In the future, users will be able to secure their JAXX wallet with both Trezor, Ledger, and our own hardware wallets. Until that time, please use JAXX as a hot wallet for small amounts and use hardware wallets for larger amounts. And they're very open, and they're right out there with this. So, I think they're handling it fine. Again, it's tough to call it a security exploit, but yeah, am I going to recommend the JAXX wallet right now? No, not really. Unless it's in that hot wallet fashion. Like, I understand that. And it's a pity. I hope that these kind of like two-factor sort of implementations that they're shooting for, like where you could secure it with a Trezor, Ledger, or something, or their own hardware wallets or whatever. I kind of hope that sort of thing happens in the near future. I think a very easy solution that JAXX could run with. Well, I shouldn't say easy, okay? I've never done the programming of this myself, so I can't exactly say. But one of the easier solutions that they could do is just set up, where you can lock down a JAXX wallet with the YubiKey. I think that'd be a brilliant, operation to do. And then you have that hardware second factor. That good fucking luck if you connect, via the network or something. Like you're going to have that YubiKey, and you could even have it work through. I'm not 100% certain how this would work, but I think it's technically feasible. You could even have it work through like a YubiKey Neo, which has NFC. And then it could lock down JAXX on your Android phone as well. And so it could just connect to the NFC on the YubiKey, and that could kind of send the code. So I think that there's really options to solve this problem. It looks like they're looking in the right direction by solving security through some kind of hardware implementation, which is what I would do. But yeah, I'm not going to recommend JAXX kind of across the board anymore. And like I said, this is a very tricky thing to even really talk about because it's the way their security model works. Okay, you can say it's a piss poor one, you could say it's an inferior one, and I understand all of those arguments. Okay, but it's how their security model works. They're not going to change anything about it. It's the way they kind of have to do things to offer the feature set that JAXX offers. Okay, the cross-platform set and all that. So it's a little unfair to say that, I think people are full of shit when they're saying JAXX doesn't care. No, that's ridiculous. Of course, the guys at JAXX give a shit, about you having your monies secured. It's just that the way that they have things set up, this is how it is. This capability exists right now, and so they're recommending using it as a hot wallet. So I appreciate them kind of being out in front on this. Again, there is no proof that the theft of Ethereum that occurred from a JAXX wallet had anything to do with this exploit, but regardless, yeah, I mean, listen to JAXX themselves. Only use this thing as a hot wallet. So that's what I have to say about it. Now, people are probably going to ask, well, then what do you recommend using outside of that? I'm not the biggest fan of hardware wallet implementations. If I had to, I'd probably say, use Trezor. Copay is still a great wallet. I mean, the thing is that, a lot of those don't really offer great, altcoin support, which is one of the beauties of JAXX, I mean, if you're looking for a Zcash wallet, if you have a Windows machine, I absolutely think that Zcash for Win is a very nice, implementation of that. I wouldn't rely on the exchanges for anything. That's for damn sure. So long-term storage, start thinking about serious wallets again. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it sucks, and if you're doing like Monero or something, well, then run the Monero client. That's actually not hard. And that's kind of, that's available fairly cross-platform. I mean, like you can run it on every major operating, desktop operating system. So, rock that out. Like I said, I mean, as far as Bitcoin wallets go, like I think Copay is a really great wallet. That's a nice open source implementation. You can rock and roll with that. As far as Bitcoin, as far as other things, you have like Litecoin. Well, run a Litecoin wallet. I mean, that's not that hard. And the blockchain is good size now, but it's not as unwieldy perhaps as Bitcoin. And there's some Zcash clients out there or whatever to rock out and try. So there's options. You're just going to have to go with somewhat of a harder one. But unless you want to feel comfortable with what they said with JAXX. But I hope that they get that what sounds like hardware two-factor authentication going very soon, because I think that would that would work out well for them. So okay, let's get onto the next question here. I'm only going to do 2 questions this week. I did plan on doing, someone asked a question kind of about the military and sort of my thoughts on it, but I am going to save that probably for next week. I have other projects that I think you'll find to be very exciting that I will be releasing this week, so I'm not going to, so that's part of the reason that I'm, this is going to be a slightly shorter episode. So to talk about, let's see, the person had asked me, it was about the Brave web browser, which I've talked about a couple times on Sovereign Tech, but only very briefly, like during the foreplay. So, and this is actually from the community tab on the Patreon page, and it's, have you talked about the Brave browser on the show? A review from the Golden Stallion on this purportedly privacy-centric browser would be awesome. It also has a native cryptocurrency called BAT. Oh boy, I'm seeing a BAT right now. Called BAT, which seems interesting. Any criticisms or thoughts would be appreciated. Sorry, let me read that again real quick. It also has a native currency called BAT, which seems interesting. Any criticisms or thoughts would be appreciated. Yeah, so the Brave browser, to describe this is a browser that came out a couple years ago. It's still technically in beta. It might be up to like version 0.07, and it was started by, well, first off, BAT, just so you know what that is, that stands for Basic Attention Token, which right out of the gate, I hear that name and I get kind of annoyed. But Brave he started a whole company around this called Brave Software, and it's done by Brandon Eich, who is one of the, I guess you could say, the co-founders of Mozilla. Very key behind Firefox, also like a major developer back in the day with JavaScript and everything. I mean, this is a guy that's been around. Brandon Eich is no slouch, when it comes to things. So when, he kind of makes a boast just with his own personal record, he can back it up, really. So Brandon Eich, he came up with this idea, and the idea is basically with the Brave browser is that you're going to, what it'll do is everything will be done within the browser itself, okay? So, and it's not based on, even though he was originally from Firefox. In fact, I think Brendan Eich was the one that got fired for, I think he made some, homophobic comments. But anyway, I could be wrong that maybe it wasn't Brendan Eich that did that. Anyway, regardless, Brave browser, it's based on Blink. It's the same engine as Chrome. It was not based upon Gecko that Firefox is known for, or for the Quantum engine or whatever they're calling it that they're releasing later, or that's getting implemented slowly and will be on full rollout, I think, at the end of the year. So it's based on Blink. So, that's something good going for it, because that means it's compatible with most websites. But what the browser does is it gets rid of ad blockers and trackers and all that different stuff. The very reasons that you run something like uBlock Origin, or an ad blocker, or a lot of other different security, and privacy extensions on a web browser. It does it automatically. But what it does in place of that is it will put a light, as in LITE, okay? It'll put a light ad in its place. And people can get on board with it, and they can, you can run ads effectively through the web browser. That way you're not running ads that are potentially malicious, that could be running like malicious JavaScript or something, or that go to malicious links, which is a problem with a lot of ads, or that way they're not annoying, okay? And now they built into this business model, they built in microtransactions, okay, into the Brave browser. And that's where their new token comes in. Now, originally, the claim was that they were going to just use Bitcoin, but they probably, hit a snag at Brave when they found out that, Bitcoin and microtransactions aren't exactly working out very well. So they did an ICO, and obviously that annoys the fuck out of me. Especially like a company, you would think a company like Brave could just get some, classic VC funding. Not that I care for VC funding either, but there's a reason I think that they couldn't get money. Anyway, they did an ICO, and the ICO was just like 2-3 weeks ago. I think it was May 31st, 2017, and so I think they made like 30, they sold out of their ICO inside of like 30 seconds or something. It broke some kind of record. Like it was the fastest ICO ever, and they did like $36 million for their ICO. Now, there's problems with the BAT token, with the basic attention token, sort of in the first place. There's all kinds of problems with this business model. First off, the reason that they probably had to do an ICO and that they couldn't get like normal VC funding of a type in Silicon Valley, even when you have a name, like one of the guys that helped found Mozilla. I think the reason for that is that was it the Washington Post, New York Times, a whole slew of newspapers pretty much told the Brave browser, and this is the last time I talked about it on Sovereign Tech, they told them about, this is about a year ago, that, they pretty much said, don't fuck with our ads. Don't mess with our ads. We don't want you to replace it with your ads. You're like, and this speaks to an overall problem with Brave browser. But anyway, they're saying, don't mess with us or we'll come after you. And here's the thing, is that I think the New York Times, Washington Post, and, or the Newspaper Organization of America, or whatever the hell the group is, I think they have the stroke. I think they have the clout, effectively to say, or, to do, it's the Newspaper Association of America. They have the clout really to tell them, actually, this was just last year that they told them this. Yeah, this is back in April of 2016. That they have the clout to say, to shut Brave down. And I think that they might have been successfully doing it. And that's why Brave had to do an ICO, because, the Newspaper Association of America was squashing them. There's a lot, look, let's understand, the newspaper's day is kind of dead, but the New York Times and Washington Post are still major news organizations, and they can still fuck with you pretty hard, I'm sure, and I'm sure they have quite the corporatist lobbying group of a sort, really to mess with a little startup like Brave. Now, I'm not saying that I like that, okay, but it does lend itself to one of the first problems here, and that is I think it's kind of crazy for Brave to become like this advertising middleman. Okay, And there's an inherent issue with this entire business model, because the way that Brave, the company Brave, wants to kind of sell it to you is that you have two options. Okay, you can either have like really really annoying ads, and news organizations or websites or whatever get funded by those annoying ads, or you could have really light ads that aren't annoying, and then you could get funded through the Brave browser and through the Brave company in general via whatever, if they're using Bitcoin, which they're not going to, or if they're using BAT, the basic attention token or whatnot. The thing is that, look, those aren't the only two options. There's a third option. I always tell you that anytime somebody tells you there's only two ways, be very skeptical. There's always a third way. You know what the third way is? No fucking ads, which is what every other ad blocker generally does, okay? And Brave's, that business model that Brave is running for, how is that working out for AdBlock Plus? Because that's what AdBlock Plus is trying to do. They're just not doing it as an entire browser, even though they do have their own browsers, right? They have the Firefox-based one for Android, and they have some others. They're doing it as an extension, and they're creating, like, you can, as a website or an organization or whatever on the internet, you can pay AdBlock Plus to put you on a whitelist. And when you go to those sites, and as long as people are using AdBlock Plus, which to date is probably still the most famous ad blocker, they will, they'll let those ads get seen, and so life goes on. Which is why I recommend using uBlock Origin, and not AdBlock Plus. If you really want a site to succeed in that way, you can just, you can whitelist it yourself. Like with uBlock Origin, you can just say, okay, yeah, don't block on this site. And there you go. Until you ever tell it to block again, it won't block on that site if you're really that concerned about it. But Brave is really coming from a flawed premise, that somehow those are the only two options when they're not. And most people, especially, like people growing up in the past 10, 20 years, they expect this shit to be for free. It doesn't matter if they can't be for free, if news can't come to you for free, okay? If it has to be funded through ads or something, right? It doesn't matter if that. The fact is that people don't know that. They don't understand that, and you're never going to get them really to understand that. All right? It's just not going to gel, because what's going to happen is even if they did start to understand that, you still have bloggers that just base all their work off of the more major news organizations like the New York Times or Washington Post or something, and the millennials or the younger folk will just get their news off of the blogs. This is just something you really can't win. Okay, and the Brave browser is not going to solve that problem. Now, the other issue I have with this has to do with the basic attention token itself. So here's the funny thing, is that not only, okay, now that they have their own token, they've suddenly kind of expanded their plans on how they're going to do things. Not only are they going to control the money, and I think they hold like 55% or something like that. I think Brave holds a pretty significant amount of the money. But not only does Brave like control what they send off money-wise to the advertisers that decide to play ball with the Brave browser, but they apparently will also pay you something like 12 or 15% of every what is effectively advertising dollar, or in this case advertising token with the BAT. They will pay you for looking at the ad. Now, this is the part that it just drives me nuts. You're going to pay people for looking at ads? I get it. Google has, what is that Google Opinions, right? Where it's an app where you can earn Google Play Store credit for answering a bunch of questions. And the questions are obviously for advertisers, or maybe they have to do with a new service that Google's trying to create or something like that. And, they'll give you 10 cents or $1 or whatever the fuck they give you, for it. But to pay, there's something that just seems so skeevy, so dystopian, so like ugly sci-fi about it, about the idea of paying human beings for watching ads. Now, somebody could get really metaphorical or really abstract and say, well, Everybody's getting paid for watching ads. That's what TV shows are, right? Because, they have ads. Well, no, we know now, and actually most people I know, the way, and that doesn't mean it's most people, the way they watch TV is completely without ads. They watch it on Netflix, and they pay, a subscription fee to get that stuff. And that actually hints at the real answer to a lot of this shit, okay? But yeah, like the notion of paying people, if you will just watch this ad for 10 seconds or however, we don't even know what these ads that people need to watch to get paid are going to be like. Like I'm just picturing like people like sitting there watching ads, kind of like drooling, also that they can make a little bit of money. And it'll be a little bit of money. Like, I'm sorry, you're not going to get that return on investment with. I really don't think you're ever going to get that return on investment with that ICO for the basic attention token, because, like I said, I don't think Brave is going to, unless the Newspaper Association of America changes their mind. I think the NAA is going to squash Brave like a bug. It's just going to squash him, and understand, like, for Brave to work, it's not like Brave is just this ad blocking browser. That's not what they are. They are a browser that is looking to monetize ads. Yeah, I get it. They're trying to make the internet a little more palatable, okay? But really, I say just fucking go all the way. Just get rid of the ads entirely. And honestly, here's what I'll tell you is the real solution. See, I'm not just bitching. I'm not just complaining. I'm actually going to give you a solution. Solution's what I do. Solution's Patreon. Okay, solution is like subscription models, like something like Medium's trying to do, right? Medium has that new Medium Elite, where you can they charge like $5 a month, and that $5 will go to certain content creators, or part of it or whatever. And, maybe it won't work because maybe people still want stuff, some of the stuff for free. Yeah, there's models where it may not work, but people are obviously willing to pay for Netflix shows. People are obviously willing to pay for Patreon content. And I've noticed a lot of my friends, all starting to jump on board, with Patreon more. MK Lords is on Patreon, which, boy, support her. Oh, she's awesome. Jake DeSillis of The Voluntary Life, he just started his own Patreon and everything. And people are getting into this, and they're buying into this. And this is how you monetize, independent media. This is how you monetize media. This is how you monetize anything. This is how you, some very, very popular YouTube channels, they all run off of Patreon, and they make the videos based upon the amount of money they get on Patreon, and it works. It's a fantastic exchange. It's value for value. That's how you do it. You don't dupe people by paying them to watch fucking advertisements like that. That really, just think about that. I think that's so nuts that you're incentivizing people to watch advertising. Yeah, there's just something wrong with that. And I'm not against advertising. I have, on Sovereign Tech Prime, I have advertisements. I have the best advertisers in the world. I really do, and we talk about their stuff. But, here's the thing. Why does advertising work there? Because I'm not schlepping you bullshit. I'm talking to you about things that I think are genuinely great for you to either listen to, buy, follow, check out, whatever it happens to be. Like, you curate this stuff. It's not just like this scattershot shotgun approach like seems to happen on cable television or on radio or something, okay? It's very carefully crafted. And when it's carefully crafted and it matches the content, and the internet empowers niches, right? Niche topics and niche passions and all this, then advertising can actually work in those ways. In fact, even traditional forms of advertising can work in those ways. All right, so I'm not against advertisements, not at all. But I'm totally against these things that potentially lead to. First off, I think it's crazy. Like there is no point to this basic attention token, and I think that skews like the human condition in ways that I don't even like to think about. Again, of paying people to watch advertising. You have that. Oh man, this is a business model that's not going to work, because again, at the end of the day, regardless of what the NAA does against Brave, which I think that's been a long going quiet thing. At the end of the day, people will like. I mean, it's funny. Like, I think Brave figured out, no, we have to pay people to watch these advertisements because I think they know, they must know. I mean, even though they're trying to sell you on the idea that there's only two choices, they have to know that the third option is the one that, no, we don't have to see any fucking ads, and we won't. And I will, to this day, I will still recommend. I mean, again, honestly, but Brave's in beta right now. Okay, now maybe it's not security features necessarily that are in beta, but I'm not going to recommend that people trust their life or something, on a beta browser or whatever, or trust their security on that. So, I'm going to say to you, use a browser that's got, good time-tested track record and put all the fucking security extensions in the world on that baby. You put uBlock Origin, whatever, put on stuff from the EFF. Whatever it ends up happening to be. Block all the fucking ads, because the singular most important thing, okay, you want to tank an economy? Fuck about the fact that you can't see ads. You'll tank an economy if you end up with another WannaCry that infects just a few more systems where it matters. Okay, and if you want to stop, like rampant ransomware and rampant malware and all that stuff, I mean, one of the number one places that shit comes from is ads, annoying fucking ads on websites. So block the fucking shit out of all of them, but do it your goddamn self. You don't need the Brave browser to doing it. I mean, and eventually, like, there's going to come a time where also I think the Brave browser could, like, sell lists of user activity, even though they claim, and actually I kind of believe their claim, that they're trying to anonymize, like, what ads you watch, what ads get served to you. Like, they talk about the shield that keeps advertisers from seeing what's going on about you. But I still think that they could sell, like, kind of, the metrics of, what's working and what's not. That, you're really not going to get a cut of. I mean, you're getting a cut of, like, watching the ad, but you're not getting a cut of being a part of the experiment. So, like, where the real money is going to get made, you're not even really being a part of that. You're getting handed crumbs. Yeah, and I can respect if people feel differently about what I just said. I can respect some differing opinions on this, but that's just mine. I think paying people to watch advertising is positively ludicrous. I think that what people are really always going to want is absolutely no ads whatsoever. And that's what they're going to go for, especially when it's so easy to implement. Thanks to various extensions and web browsers. And that's the right thing to do as a quote-unquote citizen of the internet, is to secure the shit out of everything you do and out of your every online action. So telling people to use, ad blockers is a very good thing. And that's not new for me, to ever talk about or even say. So, yeah, and the whole basic attention token thing, like, I really don't see that ever working or taking off. And I don't see kind of the, until the NAA, the, Newspaper Association of America, gets on board with this, and I don't think they will. I don't think that this is really going to take off. Maybe it'll be some kind of niche market. That's certainly a possibility. But I think you're gonna see this, eventually fail and fail pretty hard. I mean, unless like a Chinese company buys it out. But as it being Brave, just that little startup, I don't know. And then when a company out of China buys it out, then it gets into the questions of like, okay, Opera has a VPN built into it, and Opera has all these different, it has an ad blocker built into it, which it does, by the way. But what is this Chinese company collecting about what I do via that VPN, via their VPN, and via their ad blocker and everything, right? Well, eventually, I think the same question could be asked of Brave, especially if they do end up getting bought out, which I consider to be like, that's just going to happen. I mean, I'm not saying that the how to fund these sites and how to fund news organizations and all this stuff, they aren't real problems. But like I said, the real solution here is either to do, I mean, really, even like, Google relaunched what is effectively Google Contributor, where you pay $1 to $10, for your favorite sites, and the money will go to those sites, and Google will make sure, they'll do exactly what the Brave browser does. They'll make sure you don't get the bullshit ads, and they'll feed you something else, something light or whatever. It's pictures of cats or some horse shit. Okay, but that's effectively a subscription model. That's effectively, Patreon, really, that Google's doing. All right, and those are the things that'll end up working, and those are the models that kind of need to happen. I'm not really even complaining about Brave doing an ICO. Maybe ICOs in the future. I've had some people talk to me about this, and yeah, maybe ICOs in the future won't be as scammy as they are right now. I think the one from Brave is very ugly, and I think it incentivizes some very strange human behavior. I have some real issues with that. With the idea of of incentivizing people to use your browser by paying people to watch fucking ads. Ads are the bane of it. I mean, not all ads, but a lot of internet and web ads and all that stuff. I mean, they're really the bane of existence. I mean, maybe they'll change my mind if suddenly their ads are just so entertaining and amazing and worthwhile. But I just can't imagine what that would end up looking like. But then maybe that's why I don't work for Brave. So anyway, that's enough of that. You will have. I'm going to be releasing a lot of content this week, a lot. So get ready for that. And that's enough for now. Anyway, just a couple questions this week, a little crypto talk, and then we'll get into some bigger stuff next week. And maybe I'll make up for it by doing 3, 4, or 5 questions next week. So anyway, thank you so much for being a patron. Thank you for funding this independent infotainment, information, and I like to think that I entertain. And if you have any issues with anything I just happened to talk about, please don't hesitate to say the word, and let me know on Patreon, and we can all talk on there, or hell, on RetroShare. Woo, that's the good stuff. Anyway, I will see you on the other side.